So today is Chulin Daf Nun Vav, and we're going to start Nun Hey Amud Beis. We're in the middle of the Machlokes or Meya and the Chachamim legabi a gluda. If somebody loses, if something or a living being loses its skin, so is it a treif or not? Now it happens to be that there's a machlokes, there's a Gemara in Nida. The Gemara in Nida really gives a hezbollah what the machlokes of Meya and the Chacham is. The Gemara talks about gizei machlif. If skin regenerates, things that regenerate are not makabel tumah. L'mashal don't get tumas hameis. L'mashal like skin and like hair and nails. What's the halacha legabi skin? So the Gemara. So the Gemara wants to be told into in Irmei and the Chachamim. The Irmei says that gluda is not a treif. It's gizei machlif, and the Rabbanon is what's called it. And the Rabbanon hold that you are a treif because not gizei machlif. That's what the Gemara wants to say. The Gemara is matche both studied. And the Gemara says no, that everyone could be maskim that it's gizei machlif, it's not gizei machlif. But the word is like this. The Chachamim hold that the pshat is that ad hachi v'hachi avade, it's gizei machlif. Avade could regenerate itself, but ad hachi v'hachi, he's gonna the shol ba'avira and he's gonna die from it. That's so. What's the machlekes of Meya and the Chacham? Yeah, and the other side of the Gemara is everyone holds that it's not gizei machlif. No, the word is everyone holds that it's not gizei machlif. I was Sokra Meya. Sokra Meya, that the pshat is that the skin, the basar itself hardens. It gets like a crust, and the Meila protects. That's the two pshatim in the Gemara. Yeah. So the shaila is what's the machlokes over here? Yeah. So I'm just saying a svara like this. It could be that the shaila is in what the job of skin is. Is the job of skin to protect from avir? And it could be a very, very lamdish shaila. It's never negaya because you don't have skin exposed because you need skin to protect from other harmful objects, from touch, right? Well, but the teretz for that is that it's gizei machlif, right? So in such a case where you never need it to protect from the avir, but l'maisa seif kol seif over here you need it to protect from the avir, the beini. So the question is does that become a roll of the skin, and you don't have the skin, and memela it's a problem now, or the pshat is Rameh is going to say no. Rameh is going to say that right now the skin, you have a problem with skin, no problem. The problem is coming. It's gizei machlif. It's fixing itself up. A new problem to avir. Well, what do you want from me? It's not the fact that the avir is going to be sholet ba is not a what's called it is not a chesaron in the skin that's missing like Rameh and like the Chacham. That's the ikar function of the skin. A svara that maybe we could say and we could, I think we could say the same kind of a svara legabi fakert in the other side of the Gemara. Rameh says that the pshat is that it hardens. So the question is, it hardens. So what's the machlokes? Does it harden or not harden? The question is again the same thing about the avira. But the question is, and we'll say that it's lo shol ba'avira. The question is, what is the role? If the role is just to protect from hard objects, it has a hard object and it protects. But if the role is to protect from avira, it doesn't protect from avira. Okay? If there's what? Everyone's masking. That means even the Chacham are masking that if it's nishtayer, some skin, and this is kiyadua, this everybody knows. You know this from anybody who ever got a burn in his life. That skin has what's unique about a skin is that the way it regenerates itself is from healthy skin. It's got to come from the healthy skin. And even if somebody has a burn, the middle of the burn doesn't heal by itself. The middle of the burn just like stays, and the edges get smaller and smaller and smaller until it closes up. So that's how skin works. It's got to work from healthy skin. So where does that cell have to be? Along the whole shedra. So he said a lashon al pnei shedra kula, but on the other hand he said kisela. How could you have kisela al pnei kol shedra kula? Well, yeah, the shedra is much bigger. So he lose like the Gemara de arich v'katin. Does it mean that you have a very thin, long strip along the whole shedra? That it just means a sella in quantity, but obviously it's not a sella in thickness. And if you put it all together, it will be the size of a sella. Then when it says nishtaya by kisela, it doesn't mean that it's only a sella's worth. It means a sella width, but obviously the length of the whole shedra. So Tashma, the parsha of Nerai. Mishmei Dishmul, Reb Neroi Mishmei Dishmul, Bereichiv Kisala B'nei Kol HaShedra Kula. Yep, that's that shita. Now, Zok Gemara Nai Shid Rabbi Chanom Rashi Prokim. That what? That you need that the what's called it should be on at all the joints. That's where it's the most important is the skin, and from there the body regenerates the rest by the joints. Rabbi Lazar and Antignis Mishum Rabbi Lazar ben Rabbi Yanea Ma Mokim Tiburei Boi. No, Mokim Tiburei, which means that the place you need, the most important is the place by the navel. That's the place where you need the kisala. So we have three shittas. Either it means by the shedra, or it means by the Rashi Parakim, or it means by the Mokim Tiburei. Boy, Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Shmuel. What happens if nitel Mokim HaShedra v'kulei kayim? Nitel Mokim Tiburei v'kulei kayim. Nitlu Rashi Parakim v'kulei kayim. Mai. What happens if everything was taken away? Everything is still there except those places. So what's the halacha? Mai. So the Gemara, Teiku. Venera, that this is the pshat in the Gemara. I'm just throwing this out here. That the Gemara's shaila is, what is the shear of gluda? Is the pshat that the shear of gluda is the whole body, or the shear of gluda is even a mashu, even a small amount? We know it's not even a small amount. The teretz is, the reason why it's not a small amount is because it's going to regenerate. Because what happens if it's in the shtaya bakishela, then it becomes a gizei machlif and it regenerates. But now, so you can't declare in general if he stam gets a wound anywhere on the body if it's a problem, because it's going to be gizem machlef. But the word is, but if let's say I could isolate the place with the source of where it comes from, yeah, the mashal makom tiburei. I hold that the whole place that it regenerates is from the makom tiburei, and that part is removed. So now you could declare. Is the vart that a gluda is a problem, that it's not a gluda until the whole body is removed and the rest of the body is all covered. I need roiv, maybe, whatever. Or the pshat is any part is a problem. It's just the only reason why the rest of the part of the body is not a problem is because it will regenerate. This won't regenerate. So Mamela, that's the Gemara, what will be by Makam Tiburei if that's removed, if it is a treif or not. What do you say? Omarav kolor kulo matzel begluda chotzmi or beisaprosois. So that was all like that shita. But now it's like the Gemara anaya pshat, anaya mahalach, a mahalach of Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Kolor kuloi, right? What's this orbeis process? We're going to see that there's a machlokes. There are certain skins that are considered very, very thin, and they don't have a shem or, they have a shem basar. They're not considered or. They're not considered high. They're not considered. They're not this thick thing of or. They're basar. So Rav says, the or very close to the hooves. Over there, the skin is very thin, and that skin doesn't have a din or, and since it doesn't have a din or, it doesn't have the effect of being able to help the rest of it be mala arucha. Even the or process has no problem. It could also be mala arucha. or base process nami matzel. So we have a story about the same psak. Rabbi Yochanan says afilu or base process nami. So we had a story. Base process mahu sheyatzel begluda amalei matzel. Like Rabbi Yochanan just said before, afilu or base process nami matzel. Amalei, how could it be it's matzel? You taught us a Mishnah. The Mishnah says elu sheireseim kibsaron. The following skins are kibsaron. Are like basa doesn't have a din like skin. What? Or base process. So our base process is what? Is you see it's saying kibsaron. It's saying kibsaron. And if it's saying kibsaron, so memela, so it shouldn't be able to be malaruch. It shouldn't help the other skin to regenerate. Amalei. And vice versa, nobody's. That's chlor. I don't know exactly why, but that's chlor that it can't be that Urisayin is kibsaron and it still regenerate other skin. That seems to be totally habaha. I'm not sure exactly why that's mochach. But anyway, that's the Gemara goes. Amalei al tachniteni chepaminished. Why? Shebeloshin yochid ani shoyna oisa. Wow, we just had a Mishnah that says Elu. It's a Mishnah. Elu Sherisayim Kibsaron or Beis HaProses, and this lashon of Elu Sherisayim Kibsaron or Beis HaProses is clearly it seems like a stam Mishnah. Al takniteni shebeloshin yachid ani shoyna oisa. So and the Gemara is going to bring a brayso that's taka machlokes the gabi or Beis HaProses. So what's this lashon shebeloshin yachid ani shoyna oisa? Rashi's obviously Rashi and Tosfos are moching that l'chura it's not b'loshin yachid, it's mefurish stam Mishnah, it's not b'loshin yachid. So Zok Rashi kloi ma yichidahi, not that b'loshin yachid ani shoyna oisa that it's not a stam Mishnah, it's a stam Mishnah. Kloi ma yichidahi like amina kavasi. Why? Because like the one is going to say it's a machlokes. That's how Rashi says. But Tosfos, you look at Tosfos says no, that's we can't do that. Beloshin yachid ani shoyna oisa is mamish is meduyik. Beloshin yachid ani shoyna oisa means that shebe mishnah atzma yishoyna divrei Reb Shimon. And Tosfos says araya ein lefarish mishum da asya kichida, because who cares if it's asya kichida? Stam masnis and machlokes bebraisa alach stam. Yeah. Stam b'masnisin umachloikis bebraisa halachik stam. So in other words, we still have a stam mishnah, and if it's a stam mishnah, so who cares if it's a beloshin yachid ani shoyna oisa? Yeah, and Rashi. In other words, just because it's a shitas yichida. So Rashi Taka says more than that. It's not just yichida. Rashi says yichidahi v'loy kamina kavasi, and we don't paskin like him. So why did Rabbi Yochanan stress the yichidahi like Rashi and say v'loshin yachid ani shoyna oisa? Why did he say that? L'chura he should have said like kamina kavasi v'loy kamina kavasi. The teretz is I already told you we don't paskin like that. But yes, a kasha it's a stam it's a what's called it. There's a stam mishnah. There it is. That's a shitas yachid. Okay. I just want to say one more shtickle. Why didn't Rashi want to say that Elu that b'loshin yachid ani shoyna oisa means that he was takagur is divrei Reb Shimon? Because he Ravasi's kasha was limadtenu rabbeinu Elu sherisayim kibsaron. You taught us the mishnah. So what's he saying now? Al takniteni shebeloshin yachid ani shoyna oisa. Not al takniteni. What do you mean al takniteni? You got it wrong. I'm geiris divrei Reb Shimon. Yeah, like Tosfos, the Matenu Rabbeinu is a little bit deichik, and there is a shayla about what it means when it says the Matenu Rabbeinu. But Kipshutai Ravasi is saying that you Rabbi Yochanan taught us this Mishnah, and if he taught us this Mishnah, so how could he say B'loshin Yachid Ani Shoyna Oisa? It's not true. It's not true that it's not B'loshin Yachid. So Rashi means that I hold it's a Shitas Yachid. Talk to Marvaita. The Tanya Sheikhes Oila Hasheikhes Oila Lahaktik Izayis Meor Sholtachas Alyev. Somebody's again. Here's going to be a machshavas chutzum kaima chutzlas mani chutzum kaima, and the machshava is on basar. Only on basar, or is obviously is not nechal, and it's not huktar. It's not a davar shadar kelechal, not a davar shadar kelachtin. There's no machshavas chutzlas mani or chutzum kaima. So the Mishnah is going to enumerate different oiros that have a din like basar. Hashechet is oil haktir kezayis mi'or shel tachas ha'alya, from the skin that's under the tail, right? Now, yeah. Chutz lemekaymai pasul vein by kaharis. Chutz lezmanai pegol v'chayavin alav kaharis. Why? Because the pshat is because it has a din like basar. So mela it's like mam shemachshava of if you had a machshava lahakti. Obviously lachil is not negay because it's a oila, but lahakti. Eliezer ben Yehuda ish ivolim. Amar mishum Reb Yankiv v'chein Reb Shimon ben Yehuda ish ichus. Oimer mishum Reb Shimon echad or beis haprosais, which is what we just spoke about, the or beis haprosais. The echad or haroish shall egal harach. The echad or shall tachas ha'alya. V'chol shemanu chachamim gabituma elu shariseim kibsaron. All the things that are in that list, all these things have a din like basar, and they're not like or. So Mamela, this is the machlokes. So it's only Mishum Reb Shimon they were saying this, but however, but Mishum Reb Yankiv, Mishum Reb Shimon, but Avada the Tanakama holds that that the or shall base process has a din like or, and therefore has a din like or. It's not gonna. It will regenerate itself. So the Gemara, when it says v'chol shamanu chacham gabitoma elu shariseim kibsaron lahavi or base ha boishes. Now, this Gemara is really we're gonna have to leave for the Gemara in Ha'arva Roitiv, but there's a fundamental problem. I'll just point out the problem, and we'll explain. And we'll leave the kasha. Somewhat of a steer in Rashi, exactly how to learn the Rashi. The Rashi learns like this, places learn it differently, but Rashi learns like this. Lahavi or beis haboishes. Why are we only talking about the or beis haboishes? Rashi says, there's the or hashalil later on over there. So Rashi, we're talking about an oila over here. And an oila is a zachar. And a zachar doesn't have a shalil, only has a beis haboishes. Right? That's what Rashi says. Right? So Memela, Lahavi or beis haboishes, ein lecha lahar beis ela this. Ella beis or beis haboishes. Right? Because from claim by parcel, then by cars, money pick over chayav and all cars. Yeah? That is what Rashi says. The problem is, then Rashi says, beis haboishes is the beis harachem shel nekeva. So the question is, if we didn't say the or hashalil, because it's a zachar, and every oil is a zachar, so why are we saying beis haboishes? Beis haboishes, a zachar doesn't have a beis haboishes as well. That is the fundamental question, how to learn this Rashi. So the question, so the mahalchim that they go is that maybe Rashi wants the dematcha, that maybe Rashi means the or of the zochar that's connected the beis harachem shel nekeva. In other words, that the beis haboishes is just what we call it, but we mean that category which includes sai by nekeva the beis haboishes, and by the zochar the beis is the zachros, the or of the zachros. That's one of the mahalchim. We'll leave it at that for now. I think it's a big deichik in Rashi, and we'll leave it as a shtel. Okay, so let's see the Mishnah. Ve'elu treifus boif. Now the Mishnah is going to do a treifus shaboy. So there's a lot of lomdish shilas to hagdamas for treifus shaboy, but I don't want to do that. I just want to do a mitzias the hagdama. There's a tremendous, very, very, very important hagdama that we have to have for oifis in the fundamental difference in oifis, what their digestive tract. Right, and this is going to be negeya in many aspects. Sai in the treifus and sai in the simonim. Right, oifos do not have the same kind of stomachs as humans or as any other animal. Oifos are very unique in. Again, they have a large intestine and small intestine is actually reversed, but they have those two. But they don't have teeth. All oifos do not have teeth. And there's a concept called a zefek and a korkavon, right? What are these things? So the word is like this, and I'll show a picture 1 second. So here we have the in this Chulin illuminated. He has a picture. This is a rendering. This is a picture, but it's a good picture of this is from where the oif eats all the way to where the oif where the oif drops. So, by the way, agavorcha, stam agavorcha. The reason why there's such a thing as a bird dropping, because the bird doesn't have it's open. It just goes out. Anyway, that's by the bird. Okay. Now, a bird does not have teeth. So how did the Eibishter made most birds? Most birds, the way it works is that it just eats. It swallows everything whole. It doesn't have teeth, right? It doesn't have teeth. It swallows everything whole, and it goes into a resting area called the zephek, and slowly the zephek feeds things into the korkavon, and from there everything's well. So the korkavon. So there's a difference between the zephek and the korkavon. The korkavon is what we call the gizzard or the pupicle, right? That's the good. Now, the way the korkavon works is that it has to do two jobs. It has to first of all do the job of a stomach, which is stam, that the stuff will sit with acid, whatever it is, and break down. But it has a bigger job. All our food or every other animal, it already chewed it up. So already broke it up into pieces, right? Mashenke and the bird never broke it up. No tooth, nothing ever chopped it up. So what chops it up? So the teretz is that after it goes into the zephek, and it goes into the korkavon, and the korkavon is not just a sack like our stomachs, or like the cave of a cow. The cave of a cow is just a sack. It sits there with acid and it just breaks down. By a bird, the korkavon has a whole muscle around it. Kiyadua, like that's what we eat, right? We eat the muscle, right? The sack nobody eats. We don't eat the sack. We don't eat the sack of a keva, and we don't eat the sack. It's like a skin. We don't eat the sack of the korkavon either. If you go to the shlachtos, what they do is they take off it's niklaf. The korkavona is niklaf. They take off the inner skin. The inner skin is just a coating that holds it. But and they leave you with the outer part, which is a muscle, like everything that we eat. It's a piece of flesh, right? And what happens is the Eibishter puts in the bird an unbelievable thing. The Eibishter puts in the bird's mind to swallow little rocks, little stones, and then and with the stones it crushes its food. And somehow the stones stay in the korkavon, and the food slips out, and that's how it crushes it by as a muscle against the stone. I've heard a very geschmack azach that the Gemara says that the ostriches eat glass. What do you mean they eat glass? What kind of glass are they eating? There's no nutritional value to glass. The teretz is what they're doing is this thing that birds need. Birds need some kind of a metal object in their stomachs to crush the food against, and that's what it's talking about. The ostrich eats those things. It helps them in the digestive tract. Anyway, Bekitz of Nimrods. So the Eibishter made, and this is also obviously part of the Gevaldige Hashgacha, that the Eibishter made that a bird could just take something. It doesn't have to sit there and chew and chew and chew and then take more and chew and chew and chew and then take more until it takes it. No. Everything it's eating, it gobbles up. It all goes into this effort. And then slowly the body is gonna feeds it to the korkavon. And the korkavon crushes it up and it digests it. That's how it goes, right? That's that's what's negayah to us. I just want to say one more svara, stam geshmaka svara, that I think this is a geshmaka svara, that we're going to see, this is stam a svara. We're going to see that one of the treifa birds, one of the simonim of a bird that's a treifa is that it's ein loy zefik. It doesn't have a zefik. It doesn't ein loy zefik. Why is that like that? If it's ein loy zefik, so then that's the. By the way, if you see a lot of times you see a pigeon or a bird that's like puffed up over here, it's the reason is because the zefik is all filled up and the food is going to slowly go into the stomach. But anyway, so why is it ein loy zefik? Because the pshat is if you're a bird of prey, a really strong, mean bird, you're not running anywhere. You don't need that storage thing. The whole concept of the zefik is that the Eibishter made for all those fakert, all those that are our prey, those that are being run after. They could just grab their food and they can run and leave it in the zefik while they run away. Anyway, that's the zefik and the korkavon. That's what's going to be the gay for our Gemara. Okay. That's the Hakdama that we'll say. One more shtickle Hakdama, which is interesting. One more shtickle Hakdama that's going to be another thing that's very interesting. The kana, you say is the nafkamina between a bird's kana and an animal's kana. Animal's kana, we said, is only like a U. It's not a full circle. Mashenka by a bird is a complete circle. That's an interesting thing. I'm sure that has some sort of a significance that we're going to have to Be'ez Hashem, revisit. Okay, so let's see the Heilige Mishnah. So the Heilige Mishnah. Ve'ilu treifis boif. Yeah, ve'ilu treifis boif. So kipshutai, right? And kipshutai, there are no more treifis. Just the treifis boif are slightly. Sometimes they're somewhat different. So we're going to bring it down. And Rashi is ma'irich to talk about exactly why each thing was mentioned. That's what Rashi is ma'irich. Okay, so tomorrow ve'ilu treifis boif nekuvas haveshet upsukas hagageres. So nekuvas haveshet is nishkin groiser chiddush because by animals also says nekuvas haveshet, but Rashi says that the reason why we brought down the Kufas Haveshet is because of Psukas HaGageres. Why do we bring down Psukas HaGageres? Because since a oif is oif's life, this is going to be a concept that we have all the time, that a oif's life is considered much more precarious, much less anchored, much less secure. But oifin, that even one siman is considered one siman, it's already geschachten. So I would think that maybe a nekuva of the gageres itself should be enough. So I had to say psukas hagageres, that it's not a treif until I did psukas hagageres. Once I said psukas hagageres, so he said nekuvas haveshet as well. So I'm right there. Hikisa hiksam cholda al roisha makam shoisa oisa treifa. If a cholda hit it, a cholda we said is a rat. A rat bit it or bit it, right? In a place that would make it in a treifa by the brain. Nikev hakorkavon, if the korkavon, that's the second stomach that we called the gizzard, the one that has the muscle, and if it's nikev, that's a treifa. Nikvu adakim, the dakim is after that. Nafla la'or v'nechmeru b'nei meyehom. If let's say it fell into the or, it fell into fire, v'nechmeru b'nei meyehom, and its intestines got singed. Now, what's intestines? B'nei meyehom, we're going to see in the Gemara, means everything that's in the stomach cavity, not dafka the dakim. We'll see. Im yeroikim psulim, if they turn green, they're psulim. Im adubim ksherim. Now, darsa v'tarfa b'kaisol. If let's say he hit it or threw it at the kaisel, oisha ritzatz the behemo farcheses, or if an animal took it and shook it up and it's mefarcheses, v'shasa meis la'es v'shachata kshera, and you waited meis la'es and you shechted it, is kshera. So here there's a very yisodistic kasha from the Rashash, which has to be addressed. The Mishnah has two cases, and both of them have to be checked afterwards. One of them is the first is by which the Gemara is going to talk about right now. Hiksa cholda al roisha makim shoysa treifa. That the Gemara is going to say that that there's a way to check it, right? But l'maisa it's listed from the elu treifis. But then the Mishnah, the same Mishnah, turns around and says, So the Mishnah tells it avek that as a kshera. So one as a psula and one as a kshera. And Lamaisa Igmaz Mavur, that there's a bedika by the Dars of V'tarfa B'kais Leisha Ritzatz L'Behem for Cheses, over there it's kshera. Why is the Mishnah called one kshera and one psula? They both need bedikas. Yeah, that's the kasha that the Rashash asks, a lot of Achronim ask. So a lot of Gedolei Achronim want to say that it's based on a shtickle tarif, I think from I don't remember from who, that that this shtickle Torah that the bedika of a darsa is only midrabanan, and memelo the Mishnah didn't bring it down. I'm not sure why that would be a teretz to the shaila. But I have on the side of my Gemara, and I heard some Magachila also wanted to say this gewaldige chiddush, a gewaldige pshat. There's a machlokes Rashi and Tosfos, Rashi and the Rambam, by a Jerusa and the Bedika. What's the Bedika? Rashi always says that, right? Rashi says that what's the chashash of Jerusa? Jerusa is that the Evorim misparkim, right? And Evorim misparkim is not something that a Bedika could do, right? The Rambam says that the problem of Jerusa is that it deformed the Evorim. If it's about deforming the Evarim, so you could just check. You can make a b'dika on the juicer itself. But Rashi holds that it's a Evarim misparkim, it's some kind of a nuanced treifa, not something that's discernible by eyes. So what's the b'dika, Zok Rashi? I have to be choishish by a juicer. Besides the problem of risik Evarim, I have another shaila. I have to go check on other things. And Rashi Taka says over here on Amid Beis, when the Gemara says that I have to check it, Zok Rashi right before the Mishnah on Amid Beis. Amar Rav Lezer ben Tignas b'Shimon Rav Lezer ben Biani achazu v'achazu tzricha b'dika. Zok Rashi. Tzricha b'dika. The Shema nishbara shedra v'nifsek achot. That we have to check for other things. Maybe nishbara shedra v'nifsek achot. Yeah. So Memela, it's very gishmak. The bedika that we're doing by Jerusa is a zaytige Jerusa. We're not talking about the bedikas of Jerusa. It happens to be that I have a chiyuv bedika. I lost my chazaka about other things. But the fact of the matter is that the Jerusa, for Jerusa, I don't need a bedika after Neis Leis. It's very geshmak how the Mishnah said it. Until I do a bedika, it's a treifa. Over there, it's fine. Oh, I have to check for psukas I get. It's fine, but there's no chashash of jusa. So memela, that's why the Mishnah started avek in a whole different way. That would be a nice shot to have for the Rashash's kasha. So the Gemara writes, Rav Shmuel. So what's this bedika on hiksa chulda al roisha? What do you do about it? Rav Shmuel v'levi damri machnis yodei lifnim ubaydik. You stick your finger into the mouth of the bird, and you could push up, and you'll see if it comes out. Yeah, so we'll show how we'll show in the Sichas Chulin in 1 second. If you look good enough, you see here's the head of the oif, and he stuck his finger. That's a finger. He stuck his finger into the thing. He went all the way to the back, and he stopped the brain. And Mamela, he's stupping out to see if anything comes spilling out. If any brain matter comes out, he knows that it perforated the brain. And if not, it's no problem. If nothing comes out, so he knows that it never perforated the brain. That's going to be the mahalach of this thing. The Gemara is going to discuss what the story is. Legabe what do you do if let's say only one krum has a hole and the other one doesn't have a krum? The Gemara is going to discuss that. Yeah, and then the Gemara is going to also. I just want to finish up with the pictures over here. The Gemara is going to talk about maybe if it's not aligned, if they're not exactly aligned. So maybe when you stop, it'll get stuck here and it won't come out. Right? This is the skull. And when you're going to stup through the krum, it's going to get stuck here, and it's not going to be able to turn its way, and it won't come out. That's what the Gemara is going to say, as svara. And then there's going to be another way of checking it with a pin, running it across and seeing if it stops along the pin. Okay, so the Gemara right. Sagt die Gemara Lamazen. Rav Shmuel v'Levi Dami Machlis Yodei Lifnei Mubaydik im Mevatzei Tzvoi LeTreifa V'Imlav Ksheira. If nothing comes out, it's Ksheira. Sagt die Gemara Hanich L'Mandam Ad Demankiv Karmutato. That's all good. Like the Mandam that holds that it's not a Treifa unless What? Unless it was perforated through both holes. But like the mandama that holds that if just the top one was perforated, even if the bottom one is still intact, it's still a problem. So just because nothing comes out, maybe the bottom one is holding down the brain matter that can't come out. Let's be choishish that maybe the top one was perforated, the bottom one was not perforated, and that's the reason why nothing's coming through is because the bottom one is holding the brain matter, but it's still a trace because the top one is perforated. So when you shtup up the brain, and since the bottom one is so thin, and so it would not be able to hold back your pushing if the top one is already perforated. Amaziri ein bedika lecholdam. Because it has very, very small teeth. Its teeth are very thin, and therefore somehow when you push up, the brain matter won't come up. It should be able to step through. The Gemara helped me swear that it should be able to step through. It is I guess, very watery substance or something, and should be able to come through. Not because they're thin, because they don't go straight. They go on an angle, and since it goes on an angle, so when you're going to step up, it's not going to hit directly. It's not going to be able to come out. It's going to get stuck on the skull. So the Gemara kisolik linardo. Very interesting Lashon Gemara. Kisolik linardo. Normally you're solik l'Eretz Yisrael. Nardo is in Bavel. What's the kisolik linardo? So Rashi Taki, he was coming from Bavel. And Nardo was a higher place in Bavel itself. So Zakrashi kisolik linardo, from Bavel to Nardo. Yeah, Zizok in the Mefarshim, Zizok Matchias, Rashash. Everyone talks about this kisolik linardo. When he went up to Nardo from other places in Bavel, Shalach Lu, he sent back to them. It was a mistake what I said. Why? No, I could be by the chulda biyad. Not with a needle or a nail, a sharp thing, running it across the brain. That not. Even with a masmer. Ubeplukta the Rabbi Yochanan Rab Nechemya Chad Bodik biyada v'chad Bodik b'machta. One was Bodik biyad, one was Bodik b'machta. Man the Bodik biyada amalei man the Bodik b'machta ad masayat mechal momenim sheYisrael. If you're going to go and use a machat, you're running it across. There's a chance that you're going to perforate the brain matter now after it's geschochten, and maybe you'll end up tarfening the animal, and it's l'maisi you're ruining somebody's parnasa. Amalei man the Bodik b'machta leman the Bodik biyada ad masayat mechal l'Yisrael neveles. How you going and being semich on b'dika biyad ad masayat mechal l'Yisrael neveles. In fact, more neveles v'ha shchuti. So why do you call it neveles? Ella treifes. It means treifes. Why? Because Shem and Nikav Krum Shamayach. Maybe the Krum Shamayach was Nikev and it's not going to come out, but with a Machat it's a better bedika. Testayim zok tomorrow. Let's bring a raya that Rabbi Yehuda. We had a machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Nechemia. We didn't know who's who. Testayim Rabbi Yehuda the Bodik biyad. It was Rabbi Yehuda that holds the Bodik biyad, and his bar plukta Rabbi Nechemia is the one that was Bodik b'masma. Why? The tiny Rabbi Shimon Elazar Mishum Rabbi Yehuda Bodik l'chulda biyad avaloi b'masma. Says Mefurish from Rabbi Yehuda that it's biyad avaloi b'masma. Now the end of the brisa is problematic, and that's what we're going to work on now. So tomorrow Nishbar etzem afal pishlei nikev krum shomoya. If the etzem, if the skull was broken, is a problem. So the Gemara is going to say, we're going to get to the seif in a second. First of all, to Stayim, we proved that Rabbi Yehuda is the one that holds that what that it's biyad v'loy b'masma. But so the Gemara hagufa kasha armid b'chol the biyad v'loy b'masma. We already said that I could be boidik, meaning that even though the cholda perforated the skull, I'm going to make a bdika to see if the krum was perforated. But can the to be masmar. So alma is lebediku. So vices is bikusa, and the bone itself is not a problem. Then afterwards it says if the etzem is broken off bishlei nikev krum shamoyach alma les lebediku. So there's nothing you could do about it. Sakti Gemara Seifa Asan Loif Shamayim. Oif Shamayim is different. A bird of the water has a different halachas. Hoyel ve'ein loy krum, because it doesn't have krum shamayach at all, and therefore since it doesn't have krum shamayach, so melu over there you're only totally in the skull. Ein loy krum, it doesn't have krum at all. So no. Its krum is very is insignificant, and therefore over there you need the skull for it to be kosher. Rav Nachman asked Rav Amnon, you said in the name of Shmuel, Mar Omar Shmuel Bodik Biyada Umachshe, and V'huna Chavrin Omar Rav Bodik Biyada Umachshe, V'atani Levi, we have a Bryce from Levi. Trevish Emano Chachamim B'Behema, Kineg Dam Be'oif, is Kineg Dam Be'oif. Right? That they're exactly the same. Whatever's by behema is by oif. Yes, aleim oif nishber etzemav bishlei nikev krum shamoyach. Right? So how could you say that you boidik biyad I nishber etzemav bishlei nikev krum shamoyach? So what kind of b'dika you do? Amalei ahu b'ay f'shamayim. Hoyev ein le krum sakadaitik hoyev krum eirach. And the same, the Gemara is going to do it again. There's betzim a very long shazach about the trefish amanu chachamim. So the lam shemachleik is Rashi and Tosfos. Okay, let's. Ha'itar to go to Davoi Beir of Chana Shodel Kamed Rav Masna. There was time to go that was in the house of Rav Chana. Shodel Kamed Rav Masna Nishbar Etzem V'Yinik Krum Shamoyach Havoi V'Ach Shira. It was a Nishbar Etzem V'Yinik Krum Shamoyach, and it was Machshir. Amalei V'Atoni Levi Trevish Shemon Chacham B'Beim Connect Boif. Yes, Aleim Oif Nishbar Etzem Av Bishlei Nikim Krum Shamoyach. So L'Chura we have in first a brayso that says that Oif is worse, that if the Etzem is broken Av Bishlei Nikim Krum Shamoyach is a problem. Amalei Hasam Oif Shamayim Ve'Ein Lei Krum. That's talking about by Oif Shamayim. This is a Tarnagol. Tarnagol is not Oif Shamayim. Tarnagol is a regular Oif Aloretz. Yep. Hayel ve'en lekrom. Ein lekrom sakad. Hayel lekrom eirach. Rav Shizi bodik b'shimsha. Now, how was he bodik? Here are a few other mahalchim. He was bodik b'shimsha, with the sun. He was bodik from the sun. Somehow, if you hold it up against the sun, you could be able to see if there was any nicks in the krum shamayach. What?
Any holes.
Any nicks, yeah. Any holes. Rabbi Yema bodik b'maya. So badik b'maya, Rashi brings down two pshatim how you badik b'maya. Either you emptied out all the brain matter and you pour it in water that way, upside down, see if anything seeps out, or if you poured in the thing and then afterwards you pushed it out and to see if any brain matter mixed into the water. Rav Acha bar Yankiv badik begila. What's Begila dechitasa. What's gila dechitasa is like a sharp object. He used like a masma. Amalei Shizi. Okay, and we'll show the pictures in a second. Rav Shizi Hani Avzi Didan Ka'if Shamayim Danyan. That the Avzi Didan, I guess it was clear that when we're talking about Oif Shamayim, we're talking about Oif Shamayim that's very, very prevalent. I guess that there was something else besides the geese that was a Oif Shamayim, maybe a duck. But a Avzi Didan, I don't know. I'm not sure which one we're talking about. That's already called a Oif Shamayim that we have to be worried about. That it's Krumay Rach. Now here's the bedika with a masma, and here is Oif Shamayim. It's very thin. It looks like a duck, and then where the bedikas that he has. Oh, here he's doing a bedika of somehow with the sun. He's doing a bedika, and here he's doing the two pshatim in Rashi b'mayim. Either he's pouring it in from under, he's pouring it in, seeing if water comes out, or he's pouring it on top the hole. And here is, and that's it. Okay, Good. Sagt die Gemara weiter. Now here, here's this is the zefek that we spoke about, the zefek. And the Gemara is going to say soon about the gagoy shel zefek, which is the top of the zefek, where it gets thinner. That's already part of the veshet, but that's the zefek, and here's the zefek sticking out. But we're talking about what's the Negea owns is the bnei ma'ayin, and bnei ma'ayin includes all these things. And we're going to see from the Gemara that there's three things that are considered very red. Right? What are considered very red? This is the korkavon, it's red, and the kaved and the lave are all red, right? But the dakim are not necessarily red. So we're going to see what the halach is. The color changes are totally in what it started with. So the Gemara right, Naflalor Rabbi Yechon Misham Rabbi Yosi ben Yeshua. And how much is green that's a problem. The size of, if it would have gotten perforated, it would have been a problem. What happens if you had a liver, right? We know what lebalach look like. Little what? Yeah. Yeah, chopped liver, right? Regular chicken chopped liver, right? Chicken livers. So hariku kaved keneged bnei mayim. Let's say it got green, but not the whole thing, just keneged bnei mayim. Mao amalei treifa. So you ask them, what do you mean? What could be treifa? It's always yurikason is kisher nekuvason. So over here by the kaved also, we avada nitla kaved is fine. So why should green be a problem? It shouldn't be worse than if it was taken away. Must be that the whole thing was singed and it all got wrong. And when we're talking about eureka, when we're talking about a color change, we're not talking about the color itself as the problem. It's an indication that something went wrong but when it was in fire and it got burnt. So let's go to the Mishnah. Time to go to Shalit Kamed Rabbi Akvar Beribi. He had a chicken and he sent it in front of Rabbi Akvar Beribi. Amalei Yireikin Hain, the green, Vachshara. Fanantran Yireikim Sulim. We said that green is a psul.
Only Memayin.
What?
Only Memayin, that green.
He told them, like Amru, Yuraikim Sulam El Bekorkavan, Belevo Vekaved, the gizzard and the heart and the liver, which start off red and they turn green. That's Yuraikim Sulam. But Avada, when we're talking about, he was talking about what? He was talking about the other stuff that has like a greenish tint, and he was talking about the intestines. Now the question is, what happened over here? Why did they bring it to him in the first place? This is a big problem that Chachamim ask. If we're talking about that he found that the intestines were green, yeah, the intestines were uraikim, a regular color, and he said that the colors are fine. So why did he bring it in the first place? This is a big kasha that Chachamim ask, and they want to say against the Shtikol Torah that they were taka green. And the regular color is their yellow green, right? Gel, we said, is yellow also, is also considered Yuraikim. And the chiddush is that a green, meaning green, our green, is kikarsi is also mutter. So they brought something that was unusual color, it was green. And that's why they brought it to him. And he said, and he said, no, it's only Yuraikim is only a problem by the Korkavan Belevu V'Kavi, which is a massive chiddush. And why should it be like that? Look, it's a change color also. Why should it be like that? Yep. Is it still called Yerek? Salam de Shazach. Oh, so I want to say, don't ask me, but I'll say a quick shot that the word is, it fell into the Eish. So they brought it to him. And when he returned it, he said, Yeraikim Hein V'Achshara. It's green, it's good. Right, and Vahar Raya, because he said Yeraikin Havu. Yiraikin Havu. If they brought it because it was green, why is he saying Yiraikin Havu?
It's green then now. They change colors.
I hear. Yiraikin, they used to be green and they changed colors. Why would they change colors?
It was green.
I hear. But I'm teaching, the word is, they didn't know what color it was. He checked it and he says, I checked it, and when I checked it, it was green. Ba'akshara. So the Gemara's kasha. So what's the Gemara's kasha? The kasha wasn't on that he was machshir. They brought it to him. It was in the fire. He had to check it. The Torah says they brought. The question was what Ilmaisa when he said that it's kosher. He said it's green. It's kosher. Green. It's kosher. Green is kosher. Green is not a heta. The Torah says that green is kosher when it's in the bnei ma'ayin. That's what I would suggest happened. But avada. They brought it just because it was in the fire, not because it was because they saw the color. Tanya nami achi b'nei ma'ayin amru that green is a psul and red is good. Bekorkavan b'leivu kaved. Rabbi Yitzchak by Yosef Avalei, the same kind of story b'fakert. Rabbi Yitzchak by Yosef Avalei, tarnagolta. There was a tarnagolta that went into fire like my shot. Shalat tamid rovo amalei adumim havu v'treifa. They're red and they're treif. Adum ksherim, amalei, adumim shayriko, v'yiraikim shedimu. Our Mishnah, when it says adum ksherim, is we're talking about red things that stay red. But if red things turn green or green things turn red, it's a treifa. Amru adum ksherim elu b'leiv kokavana kaved. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Chia Amar Rabani adum shariko v'sholkon v'chazu v'dimo. If it was red and it turned green, and then he cooked it v'chazu v'dimo and turned back red ksherim. My time korta ayelbu. There was a little bit in it, and it was just a little bit in it, but the Maisa it fundamentally didn't change, and Mamela it's fine. Adumim will say the same thing. Adumim, if it's red, they're not green. If let's say he cooked it and all of a sudden it turned green, hatreifa, my time because there was some sort of an infection in it. And it was only inspired after you cooked it. Everyone should only eat after he's shoylik it first, because to make sure we don't have to be choishish. 2 more lines and then we'll finish. We'll stop. Doris of Tarfa Bekaisel, Amr Ablezba Tignus, Mishum Ablezba Bianai, Achazu, Trika Bedika, that say that Doris of Tarfa Bekaisel, they both need Bedika, and this is what we said, that the Pshat is what's the Bedika? The Bedika is about other treifas, and so Memela they both need a bedika. But the reason why our Mishnah they counted this from the ksherim is because we don't need a by the time what's the achazu v'achazu? The Mishnah says if it's shas or meis leis or not, right? If it's shas or meis leis, it's kosher. So in other words, what we're saying is achazu v'achazu. Say if it's shas or meis leis, say if it's not, it still needs a bedika. And the bedika is about what? About the other treifas. If maybe we should be kosher that other treifas happen. But avada the Mishnah puts it about a ksheira because once it's shas or meis leis, there's no problem of drisa kishitas Rashi.